Mr. Booker, may I offer you a warm red spice? Many find it to be soothing when experiencing emotional distress.
That obvious?
Your grief is to be expected. But your body language also expresses guilt. Illogical, as the cause of your loss was a force of nature, and as such, not your fault.
I wasn't aware Vulcans were so emotionally attuned.
A common misconception. Vulcans experience emotions, some quite strongly. We simply choose to suppress them in favor of a more logical approach.
Care to give me a few pointers in that approach?
The discipline of the Mu requires a lifetime to master. For the uninitiated, respite would be fleeting at best.
A drowning man only needs one breath.
I believe you require a different set of tools than I can offer, Mr. Booker. As a Quajon, emotion is as essential to you as air and blood, rendering the suppression of guilt inadequate. What you require is freedom from guilt.
It must have been a sign it was coming. I missed it. If I hadn't, I could have saved my family. That is not illogical.
Welcome, everybody, to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. My name is Mike. I am one of your hosts, and with me is my co-host, Johnson. Johnson, happy Wednesday. How are you doing?
I am doing okay. You know, it's a Wednesday that I have been treading water, but it's fine. How about you?
I would say the same. It's been a crazy day.
It's been a lot. It's been a lot.
It's been a lot. I was feeling your drowning comment today. I still feel like I'm drowning in everything that I need to do and everything that's going on. So yeah.
So after this recording, you're gonna go back to drowning.
I might, yes. After Dennis orders some Mexican food for us for dinner.
Oh, no cooking tonight.
No, I'm not cooking. No, and he's home. So.
Oh, excellent.
So yes.
Are you guys gonna have empanada mama? Is this what you're gonna?
No, that is not considered Mexican. That is considered empanada mama.
What is empanada mama? What kind of cuisine is empanada mama?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's Mexican, but
yes, it's Mexican.
Honestly, okay, well, it exists in its own
Latin,
plane.
Whatever.
It exists in its own plane. So yes, that is its own category. But when we talk Mexican, we talk like Hell's Kitchen or Arriba. Arriba, I guess, would be Mexican.
So more authentic.
But yes. So I am awaiting the delivery of my chicken or steak quesadilla.
Oh,
for dinner.
Okay.
But yeah, so yes, and then I'll go back to drowning. Actually, I actually, right before we jumped online, I figured out what I needed to do for this one thing, for a PowerPoint slide that I need to do and create as a handout. So I figured that out. I know what I'm doing with that.
If you ever need help with PowerPoint, I can help you. I love PowerPoint.
Oh, I mean, I'm going to do it actually in Keynote. I can create it in seconds in Keynote, whereas I don't. I mean, okay. So I'm just going to create it in Keynote, but at least I couldn't figure out the data and how I wanted to present it, and now I figured it out right before we jumped online. So
got it. You need Tilly to help you. She loves data.
I do. Oh yes, or Blue.
/ Adira. Sure.
They could help me. Absolutely. I would take their help in a second. Because yes, as we talked about
they are
last
both
week,
good at data.
They both are, yes. So yeah, so that's what's going on. It's Wednesday. I am looking forward to the end of this week and the weekend.
I cannot wait for this week to be over. It needs to be over. It needs to die this week.
Yes. The problem is that the weeks aren't going to get any slower as we approach the holidays, at least for me. Although
yeah, I think things are going to be pretty busy until basically the week of Christmas. Like, because, well, I have off from the 23rd to the 2nd, which is nice. But that means rush, because we need to get things out. Right. We need to wrap things up.
So you have the 23rd off, or that's your last day?
The 23rd off. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So
the 23rd is my last day.
When's your last day?
The 23rd. And then I am taking, then I have the 24th off. The weekend is 25, 26. And then I have 27, 28, 29 off. I'm working the 30th for one day. And then I have 31, 1, and 2 off. Okay. So but that is a long way away. And there seems to be many mountains in front of us until then. But we'll get there, I suppose. And so in other news, right, we talked a little while ago about anniversaries, and this week is the anniversary of my second favorite Star Trek film, which is The Undiscovered Country.
Captain's log, stardate 9529.1. This is the final cruise of the Starship Enterprise under my command. This ship and her history will shortly become the care of another crew. To them and their posterity will we commit our future. They will continue the voyages we have begun and journey to all the undiscovered countries, boldly going where no man, where no one has gone before.
I think it might be my first. I love The Undiscovered Country.
Yeah, I do too.
Love it.
I mean,
I think I've seen it like 35 times.
Oh, absolutely. At least. Maybe even more. Maybe even 100.
100? That's a lot. 100's a lot.
I know.
I don't know. 100's a lot. Like, I've seen
maybe
it plenty
50.
of times.
Maybe 50. I've probably watched The Wrath of Khan 100 times, though.
Oh my God. You have too much time.
I love The Wrath of Khan, but I also love The Undiscovered Country. It's just a great movie. So great.
It's such a good movie. I mean, I appreciate The Wrath of Khan. I like The Wrath of Khan a lot. I just think that The Undiscovered Country has so many layers to it. It is so interesting. And obviously there's big societal commentary to Russia, the USSR, whatever.
War,
There's just a lot of layers to it. And obviously it's the last true TOS film, if you don't count Generations. So there's just a lot that's kind of brought back that I just love about the movie.
Yeah, and the music, the score of that, Cliff.
So good.
I think it's Cliff Edelman, right? I want to say that's his score, but it's amazing. It's an amazing score. I could listen to that score all day.
It is a good score. Don't get me wrong.
You have David Warner. You have, you just have the only thing. Well, I'm glad that they created the character Valeris. I'm glad it wasn't Savick who did the kind of traitorous actions. But I do think that everyone has lines and scenes in this movie that really, it's really a showcase.
Yeah, everyone gets a moment. Yeah,
everyone gets a moment, exactly. And so I think it's really enjoyable in that respect. And I like the mystery. It's just
I really like Valeris. Going back to that point, I thought Kim Cattrall did a great job. I mean,
she did. Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, we also love her in Sex and the City, but this is one of her first big roles, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. She does a nice job with it. Leonard Nimoy does a nice job with it. I mean, him as Spock and being so contemplative and thinking about his legacy. It's just, yeah, there's just so many great scenes in this movie. And guest stars. You know, we have the Excelsior as well, so that's always fun. That formed the basis, right, for the Voyager episode.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love the Voyager episode. They did a great job with that.
Flashback, yeah. So yeah, just so much to love about this. I was trying to think, because the last time you asked me, do I remember where I saw this, and I don't remember where I saw this.
I saw this on VHS. This was not. Yeah, this was not. Yeah. I was not like a movie going Star Trek fan at the time, and I also didn't really discover TOS. I didn't really go back to TOS until after TNG. So this came out, what, 91? Yes, 91. So at that time, I was just starting to get into TNG and such. So I hadn't gone back to the movies, the TOS movies yet.
Yeah, I can't remember. So if this is 91. Wow, that's wow.
So it's like what, by this time it's like third, fourth season of TNG.
Yeah, midway through fourth season, I think,
something like that.
Yeah, wow, 91. So that, oh wow, I was in college.
Well, yeah, 30th anniversary, right?
Yes,
so
I'm old.
Makes sense.
Yeah, wow, I was in college when this came out. So I guess my original thought, I thought I'd seen it with my uncle, but I guess not, because I definitely would have been at school. We would have been actually in finals right then. Right around this time. So yeah, wow. So I have no idea when I saw it, but I've seen it a lot since then.
I was 9.
Okay, shut up.
I'm just saying.
Shut up, bitch. That's enough out of you.
I'm just yelling at you. It's okay.
Yeah.
I was 9.
So
what was your wait. While we're talking about it, what is your most memorable scene from Star Trek 6? Putting you on the spot.
Ooh. I mean, I love the ending. I love the ending of how it all comes together, like the beaming down to the planet and Kirk's little speech. Yeah, to Kittimer. Kirk's speech and, you know, saving the president, that whole scene. And then I do love, like, from that point on, well, actually before that, like, the ending of this is so amazing because, right, you have two ships racing to Kittimer. You know, Sulu says Kittimer, "Fly her apart," which I love, which is like one of the most memorable lines to me. He flying that ship apart. So they're screaming across the Beta Quadrant and towards Kittimer. And you've got the cloaked Klingon ship that can fire. And then all of that happens. By the way, that's the original exploding bird of prey.
I know. That we see that for generations. It makes no sense.
Yeah, they reused, and I think they even used it in Next Generation at some point as well. I feel like they did. But anyway, so that, and then beaming down to the planet and all that happens there. You know, Scotty shooting the assassin and flying out of the window, and what's going on? The president asks, and Kirk says, "It's all about the future, Mr. President," and does this big, you know, then they all stand like Olympic,
and everyone claps.
Yeah, everyone claps, and they're like three of them. Scotty, Kirk, and Sulu are on like these different, like it's almost like an Olympic podium, right? And everyone's clapping. So
yeah, and
then the ending is just great, you know. Scotty says, and you know, that's a big ship, or someone says that's a big ship. Oh, McCoy says that's a big ship, and Scotty says not so big as her captain. So it's just, and the music through all of that, and then the fanfare and them signing off. I love like that. Like I could just watch that part over and over again. It's just so great. So I know I just covered about half of the movie, but that is that whole part right from that point on is just nonstop, really good action. Oh, and McCoy and Spock in doing surgery on a torpedo.
Torpedo.
So their little scene in quips and fascinating, when Spock says, "You want to do surgery on a torpedo?" and he says, "Fascinating." So yeah. So any of that is that any of that your favorite, or did you have another favorite?
I had a
scene
complete different favorite scene.
Oh, awesome! Great.
Yeah. So it was the scene where it's after they discover that Valeris is the traitor, and they are rushing to Kittimer, the Enterprise, and you have that moment between Kirk and Spock where they both talk about how old they are, and Spock is like, he's just musing about his age, but then also how do he miss it, right? How do he miss that Valeris was a traitor? And I really like that scene. It's obviously a very intimate scene between Kirk and Spock, but I think that it kind of sums up their friendship and their journey in a lot of ways. And also it goes back to it's a reflection also, Wrath of Khan, Star Trek 2, because that's if you recall in that film, Kirk is also thinking about his legacy and his age.
Being
and,
old.
There's a lot there a lot in that. It's not a very long scene, but that does stand out for me as
just that little bit, the Kirk and Spock piece of it. Okay. Because that sort of leads into the sickbay scene and then into the
wasn't it after? I thought it was after.
Oh, was it after?
Yeah, it's
maybe.
after.
I don't remember the order.
After they're rushing. They face Valeris, and then they're rushing towards Kittimer. They found out that from Sulu that's Kittimer, and they're on their way there.
Okay. I do like the whole sick bay scene, and then Spock slapping the phaser out of Valeris.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then also the mind meld in the middle of the bridge.
Yes, that was very intense. Very intense.
Yeah. So awesome. Yeah. So I think we could talk about this film alone forever, because it's just scene after scene of just really memorable quotes and interactions between the crew and all of that. It's an amazing film.
Yes.
Perhaps even now talking about it, it's it is a tie for my favorite with Wrath of Khan. But anyway,
don't get me wrong. Wrath of Khan is great too. It's just not as layered. It's a little more straightforward. This has a lot of like metaphor, and again, it wraps things up. It's a reflection on their lives and friendships. It's just there's a lot. Kind of.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. It is a much more layered film, and yes, it is very good. It's excellent. So, well, cool. And so also this past week, or no, it was last week, right? Last week, yeah. Coda Book 3 is out.
Yes, I just started reading. You're halfway through. I'm not there yet.
I'm halfway through it, and I'm feeling Avengers Endgame-ish about it.
Okay.
It's very Avengers Endgame.
So
book 2 I compared to The Empire Strikes Back. This one I'm comparing to Avengers Endgame. But anyway, it's good. It's also it's very complex. But I'm halfway through it, and I don't know how they're gonna do all of this. I mean, there's some good explanation as to why things are happening. Okay, so that's interesting. I'm enjoying that, and we still need to talk about book 2.
We do,
which I feel like book 2 feels like forever ago, and now I'm in the middle of book 3, and how am I going to talk about book 2? But so we do need to talk about that at some point.
We do.
But I think we should probably get into talking about this week's Star Trek Discovery episode.
Yeah, let's do it.
which is called, and I'm already forgetting it, Choose to
Choose
Live.
to Live.
Joey.
God.
Choose to Live. So let's talk about episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery's 4th season, Choose to Live.
Janine said she was unsure of her path until she met Taklinen. And then you said that there was another path ahead. The Quantum are very big on the path thing, right?
Paths end and change throughout everyone's life. When we say choose to live, it's an abbreviated form of a longer saying. The path you are on has come to an end. Choose to live. If you find yourself at the wrong end of a Quat sword, it's pretty easy to see that particular path is over for you. You either move on to a new path and live, or you stay and die.
What if the death is more metaphorical?
In everyday life, a path's end can be harder to recognize. You must be willing to look inside yourself with absolute candor.
Another thing you're very big on.
So Johnson, we were talking, both of us have only had time to watch this once.
Yeah.
So we were we unpacked it a little before we recorded, so we remember. So we have, in this episode, we have 3 very distinct storylines. So I thought we'd tackle them by storyline.
Sure. That works.
And talk about the episode that way. So the 3 storylines are obviously Michael, Tilly, and Gabrielle on their search for the Quat Malat person called Javini.
Quat Malat person. Yes.
I don't know, yes.
Whatever, it's a guest character that we'll probably never see again. It's fine.
Yes, guest character. And so there's that whole search and seek out and capture. We have Gray and Adira's storyline.
Yes.
Gray is being transferred into his body.
His golem.
So there's that. We have, and with that we have a little bit of Culber in there, and Saru and Culber even in their new bar set, right? In their new bar
yes,
setup.
They're it's like their 10 forward or something.
Yes, exactly. So their new 10 forward. And so we have that, and then the third act of this, or the third part of this, is the Navarre Science Institute. I think I'm saying that right.
Yes,
and
it's basically the Vulcan Science Institute, except it's the Navarre Science Institute.
Yes.
So.
And we have Book and Stamets, along with the president, which I can't think of her name right now.
She's not. I really love her, but I don't know. I need to look.
I do too. I think she's a great character.
Tarina. I keep on thinking Taana, but that's Dr. Taana on Lower Decks. That's incorrect. But close. Tarina.
So we have her doing playing a role in that piece. So and that piece also extends back to the Discovery when Stamets is unpacking this with Book, and Burnham comes in, and he starts to explain the DMA, the dark matter anomaly, as they're calling it at the moment. So why don't we start there? I think that's a good place to start. We'll start with the dark matter anomaly, since that is the overarching theme of this season, right? Let's start there. So thoughts on that whole progression from what Stamets is learning and trying to figure out, and his journey to Navarre and the Vulcan Science / Navarre Science Institute. What are your thoughts on that piece of the storyline?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we finally got to see Navarre. I wish we saw more of it, not just kind of this like 3D printed, like it was like this 3D printed like thing. I don't know, like the space. It looked interesting. Obviously, they're spending money on sets and such, as well as this like LED screen. So it really does help to make it more immersive and real. But yeah, I mean, like obviously this served more as it didn't really advance, other than kind of saying is not a primordial wormhole. It didn't really advance the research for the DMA, whatever we want to call it, the anomaly, gravitational anomaly, very much. It was really more to serve as a cathartic moment for a book, you know. So I appreciate that, because you know we've at least for one or two episodes, we've seen book really struggle with this, and obviously everything that's going on, which makes sense. But yeah, I thought that was good, and hopefully he will be less mopey for the rest of the season and less crying. But yeah,
he has a lot of reason to cry, as we've said.
I suppose. And yeah, Stamets, you know, one of the Vulcan scientists, Navarre scientists, had a comment, and I was like, it's true, because he was, you know, Stamets had a very emotional response when the Navarre scientists were just like, there's no tachyons, it's not, you know, we can't provide support for your hypothesis. And Stamets is like, get so mad. And the Navarre scientist is like, you're a scientist, like, you know, you should be kind of approaching this from a more empirical standpoint. There's no reason to get so emotional about it. And Stamets is a very emotional person, you know, and because I was kind of like, yes, you are a scientist, you know, like go on to the next theory if this is not going to work out. Like you test the hypothesis, it doesn't stick, you move on, you know, try something else. But obviously he has a lot of emotional investment in this research, because now it's not only is he not only is he a very emotional scientist, but he also made book this promise that, you know, he is going to figure this out. So yeah, you know, I was like, fine, you know, like I think Stamets gets really emotional. Like that's not really my thing. I would not want a boyfriend that emotional, to be honest, but he is who he is. So yeah, no, I liked this storyline. I love President Tarina. It took me a second. I love President Tarina.
I do too.
And I, you know, for the president of Navarre and as a Vulcan, I thought that she was I really liked the moments actually between her and Book, because she articulated well that even though Vulcans suppress their emotions, they're actually are very acutely aware of the fact that they have very strong emotions. And that also allows them, at least in this case, not always, to be very empathetic, you know, to the struggling and suffering of others. And I really like that scene between her and Book, and then her kind of helping Book to come to some sort of like emotional absolution for everything that's happened. So it made me love her even more. So that I really did appreciate as well. So yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, you know, I did appreciate the moments between her and Book. I thought that was really well done. I also appreciate that they're really sticking with the science, quote unquote, about this, and really like doing the research. They're really working on the from that perspective. So that's good. I'm glad that. So originally we sort of call this a fetch quest episode to some extent, or you would, and that's what I thought of right away, because the main storyline is not about what we're talking about right now.
It's kind of like on hold as they do other things.
Yes, exactly. So but I did appreciate that. I appreciated that they were down in engineering researching this, and that Stamets was going through and his hypothesis was proved by 4 out of 5 points, and they were trying to get to this 5th point. Right. So, you know, I am very curious what they're, you know, this for me, I'm really curious about this, because I really want to know, I'm like the crew. I really want to know what is this? How is this possible? It's defying science. It really is defying science. So, what
science in the realm of Star Trek science, like
Star
whatever.
Trek, yes, Star Trek, yes. I mean, I know they have science advisors, so I think some of the dark matter pieces of this is probably fairly accurate.
I mean, we haven't. Wormholes are completely theoretical. We haven't like found any, so they can make up. They can say whatever they want. We haven't even discovered dark matter. Dark matter is just also a theory. Anyway, continue.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll defer to you on these subjects as the resident scientist.
Of the two minds here.
But so I'm glad that they're just exploring this. I'm glad that they're sort of working through this. It's not an easy answer. That it's stymieing them. I think that this is all very appropriate. It doesn't create a lot of drama, so obviously the characters there has to be other forces at play here in creating the drama. But and I think obviously books guilt is really the driver for a lot of this, and Stamets promised to figure this out in order to pay back Book for saving his family. So I think that dynamic is really interesting. I'm so glad that we are exploring guilt, survivor's guilt in this essence. And also, the guilt that you always feel after something happens, and this need to tell someone or to know that you love someone, right? That was part of the challenge for him, is that he wasn't sure that Leto knew that he loved him. And so President Tarina was able to help him see that moment that he didn't quite recall, where Leto does look back and smile at him, and there's a connection there. So that was really nice to see, and hopefully that can give some closure to Book, but obviously there's still this drive to figure this out, because there are other planets and places in danger from this. So so that's sort of my overall feelings about that. The annoyance that Stamets felt. Stamets was being very Stametsy in this episode.
He's very Stametsy.
So that's okay. That's why we love Stamets. To some extent,
I'm okay with Stamets.
And your comment about being emotional. So I have found, at least personally, in my relationship with Dennis, certainly, but in other relationships too, where a balance is important. So whereas you are
I'm not saying I need someone that's a robot, that's definitely not what I'm saying, but I think that I do not think that I would be able to deal with someone that has like emotional outbursts all the time. Like I could not deal with that.
Okay. I don't that makes sense.
I can use someone that feels more than I do, but it can help me to also articulate my feelings and like explore certain elements of feelings that I don't necessarily explore on a regular basis. But I really don't need someone like Stamets has emotional outbursts,
yes, he does.
Culber is he's very even keeled and very patient. I would be less. I'm like, I'm gonna stab you if you have another emotional outburst, So I don't need someone like that. I'm saying.
Sure. Yes. So my point is I think that good relationships, great relationships bring balance, and I think that's. So that's my thought on that. So why don't we move over to the main storyline of the episode, which is Michael Burnham and Gabrielle, and this whole Quat Malat. I have trouble with that. And Tilly. Yes, there's some great Tilliness in this episode, which is awesome. We've been Tilly.
So I'm very proud of myself because I feel I kind of was able to identify what Tilly's issue is. And I was like, yes, thank you. I feel like I can take over Dr. Culber's job, which was essentially that she's essentially having a quarter life crisis. You know, she was able to kind of reach and achieve what it's like being in college and you're like, I'm going to, you know, go after my career. And then you actually get what you want. And then it's like, okay, now what? Now what do I do? And I feel that Tilly totally was on this path where she got to a point where she started to succeed in her career in Starfleet. She got to command. She got to do these things. And it's like, is that it? Now what? You know, and she really needed to reevaluate. And I love some of the insight that Gabrielle gave her in the whole play on, you know, choose to live, right? And then, well, I don't remember the whole quote that Gabrielle threw at her, but it's like, you know, like basically the essence of it, you know, you reach the end of a path, right? And you need to choose to live, something like that, right? Yes. I love that. I actually really like that. And it forced Tilly to think about, okay, like you reach the end of this road, what now? And I really thought that was a great payoff. I actually like that more than like this whole like subplot. I was like, whatever. Like it was just like, it was like, all right, whatever. Actually, like, yeah, the whole payoff of Tilly was worth it. Was that side quest, whatever, was totally worth Tilly coming to this point.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you. I had totally forgotten about that little bit about choose to live and that whole story that Gabrielle kind of breaks down for her and says that that's the shortened version of it.
Right.
And I do still like this tie back to Picard too. So I like that things are threads throughout the Star Trek universe. So I'm really, really digging that as well. Yeah, I think that was really an important part of this. And I also think, so my prediction is that we have not seen the last of this alien race. I cannot think of their name, but I think that
I can't. They kind of looked like, I don't know. They were like very species A472. Like it was just like kind of buggy. Like I don't know.
Yeah. You know, and I was also afraid, like, oh my gosh, what have you just awakened? How do you know that these are, you know?
Yeah, well, they're telepathic, like A472. Like, you know, like who knows?
Yeah. So what have we awakened? And what's going to happen? But I feel like we have not seen the end of this, and this sort of side quest that we're on will have a payoff later on. I feel like this is not
that'd be cool.
The end of this. I think having another alien race out there that may have an answer or may support a solution to everything is going to be a part of this journey that we're on. So that was, but you know, you get sort of the alien vibes, right? The planet, you know, the planet with all the eggs and
felt very. Do you remember like Prometheus, like Alien?
Yes. Yep.
I feel it felt very much like that. I
agree.
Like the engineers and stuff like that. Like just the cocoons. It felt very, very Prometheus to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Alien Ridley Scott.
Yeah. It felt. It did, and I guess I just wish that in this, you know. In this case, you definitely get those sorts of vibes. I just wish that there was a little more originality with some of these sorts of things. You know, I get the cocoon piece, but you know, couldn't we have like tombs or you know something that wouldn't echo another franchise, another you know type of alien species? I guess I don't know. I wasn't, you know, I thought
that was fine. I thought that was fine. Like I wasn't blown away by it. Like it was just,
yeah, okay. I wasn't either. And
to me, it really served more as a vehicle for Michael and Gabrielle to have some time together, but then for Tilly to kind of, a lot of whatever her name is to Giovini, goodness.
Giovini, yeah.
Names, yeah. I'm telling you. What, you know, the whole thing with Giovini was kind of a learning lesson for Tilly, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It really was more of a narrative vehicle than anything else. It was fine. But yeah, maybe the aliens will come
Yeah,
back,
it was.
you know, because we didn't really see that much of them, so they were just like kind of
No, we
migrating
didn't
to this
know.
planet.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so I think we'll see more of them. I thought that it was nice to see Gabrielle and Michael have some time together as well. It wasn't so adversarial like it was when they first met last season, right? So that was sort of nice to see as well.
But the thing I do like is that they're still coming from different perspectives, right? Because Gabrielle has committed to this quant-malot philosophy, and Michael's coming from her point of view and Starfleet. And obviously last time that was a big source of conflict, you know, the way that Gabrielle was trying to teach Michael a lesson. I don't know, it was kind of annoying. I thought that was kind of annoying, the whole like the first time we visited Navarre, whatever. But you know, like this time it was less like obtuse in the way that she was trying to teach Michael a lesson. But I did like the fact that they sustained just the element that they are different. They're no longer the people that they used to be, and that they had to kind of work through their differences.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is definitely a good mother-daughter bonding, but you can tell that they're two strong women who have very strong beliefs, and they're sort of navigating how to interact with one another.
Right. Because it's been, still, I mean, what? Like, because it wasn't until, when was the last time that before Navarre last season, it was when the whole Red Angel thing, right? It was a Red Angel thing. I'm sorry. It's like, it feels like forever ago. The Red Angel thing, I'm trying to think. I mean, like, they obviously had like a big gap in their relationship because Michael thought that they were dead for a long time.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So there's that. And then,
so they still need to kind of get to know each other, right? Like, it's not like they spent all this time together.
Right. Yeah. They don't, exactly. So yeah, I think that was nice. I also enjoyed the Tilly interacting with the other Quat Malot, who was
awkward,
quickly killed off. There was that. But I liked the interaction that she had and how she could recognize that Tilly was nervous and excited at the same time, and recognized that and accepted that. And Tilly was impressed with the whole idea of absolute candor. So yeah,
and of course, really Tilly is just so awkward, and when she's given the sword, she like drops it. Of course,
yeah,
of course. That would be like me.
So I'm excited to see now that Tilly has some more self-knowledge. I'm excited to see where this sort of takes her next.
Yeah, no, I really. Now that she kind of realizes that she needs a change, what is that going to be?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, and I hope that she continues to work with Culber and work through this and try to figure this out. Because, Culber did sort of lay down a gauntlet for her to help Adira, help them out, with, navigating as an ensign. So I hope that Tilly will continue to do that.
I like that. I think that, maybe now it's her time to teach other people and be a mentor.
Yeah. And also, maybe Tilly will become the counselor on the ship. Who knows? That would be interesting. Because as Saru notes, he's playing double duty with Culber is playing double duty as a doctor and as a counselor,
right?
Plus all of his familial responsibilities. So there's that as well. So he's busy. I thought that was a nice scene between him and Saru in the bar, just talking and kind of acknowledging each other, and also the situation, which leads us into the third part of this story. Is there anything else before we jump to the Adira Gray storyline that you want to talk about with Burnham's story?
Oh, I don't think so. Wait, what was it?
Oh my gosh, the question that I posed in our chat. I thought
you were going to ask at the end, but
I guess we could come
well,
back
I mean, we're talking about this, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah, let's talk about it now. So So they capture Javini, they bring her back, and it becomes embroiled in a political kind of negotiation between Navarre and Starfleet and the Federation. And the way that it ends up is that the Starfleet loses out on this, because Javini is not going to be persecuted by Starfleet and face Starfleet justice for the killing of this commander on one of the ships for the dilithium. So Michael is obviously upset by this. The Admiral, Dadmiral Vance, is, he's become sort of even more of a father figure this season, I think. Like he's much, he's sort of explaining, he's letting Burnham kind of experience these things, and then he's sort of imparting his wisdom upon her. But then we have the president, it's Neelix or Nilick, or I can't think of the president.
It was like Neelix.
I know. I didn't want to say Neelix, but Rillick. So the president makes the decision, I'm assuming, or negotiates with Starfleet over the decision that they are turning Javini over to the Quatmala and Navarre for justice.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question to you is and was, do you agree with this outcome and how President Rillick deals with this and her reasons behind it?
So I thought it made perfect sense. I had no issues with it. I thought, if anything, I didn't know, it kind of confused me as to what Michael wanted. Because she, when she presents Javini in fisticuffs, like she's trying to advocate that, there are circumstances to be considered. She did this because she wanted to save a species, blah, blah, blah. So she kind of made like a, little appeal, right? And then once President Rillick basically says, oh, we're actually going to hand it over to the jurisdiction of Navarre, Michael gets upset. But I didn't quite know what Michael wanted from the situation. Like, it was a little confusing to me because again, she made this appeal. So she wanted, like, in my mind, she almost wanted reduced sentencing of some sort. Obviously,
I thought she wanted justice. She wanted justice for the slain Starfleet officer and his justice for the surviving family. So it really comes back to, But
I don't understand why she has an issue with, because it's like, okay, so it's the thing is, Navarre is not part of the Federation right now. So there is a debate for whose jurisdiction Javini falls under. She committed a crime on a Federation vessel, but she is a citizen of Navarre, right? So you can make this argument that this actually, if it's like two countries, right? Like if an American goes to China and commits a crime, should that American be tried under China law, or should they be extradited to America and be tried under American law? So it's actually, in my mind, there's nothing wrong with the two countries kind of talking it out and figuring out, like, okay, in this circumstance, China says, like, we'll let you guys take him back and try this person under American law. I actually don't see any issue with this, because it is this fuzzy space, because she is not a Federation citizen. Javini is not a Federation citizen. If she was, then it makes sense for her to be tried under a Federation court. So in my mind, there's absolutely nothing wrong with what President Rillick did. And it makes total sense. Like, she wants to show, she allowed this mission to be a joint mission. She wants to, wants Michael to cooperate with the Quatmala and to show Starfleet and basically Navarre citizen working together. And here she's also trying to make sure that she's on the good side of President Deanna. So it totally makes sense to me. If anything, Michael's response was, in my mind, inappropriate. Like I didn't think that her response made much sense to me. And I'm not saying that just because like, oh, I'm not a big fan of Michael Burnham. I was really trying to look at this from a logical perspective in terms of what President Rillick was trying to do. And it is a very fuzzy circumstance, you know?
Yeah, I would say, so going back to your analogy though, this is more like a Chinese citizen doing hurting or killing someone on an American boat in Chinese waters or something like that, and the Americans decide to send the Chinese person back to China for justice rather than bringing them back to America for justice. Anyway, but that's the way I see it more as. But from Michael's standpoint, this is all about...
And also, she knows that. I think that Michael should know that, like the I was going to say the Vulcans, but the Navarians, they're going to be fair. You know, they're going to be logical and fair about this trial. It's not like they're just going to be, oh, Navarre citizen, she gets to go free, you know?
I don't think it's about that for Michael. So what I'm seeing or thinking, this ties back to Michael's early life as a kid whose parents were killed by someone else in a terrorist attack, and she wants justice. Those people were never really caught or captured, and she was the survivor. So she's sort of placing herself in what is this commander's children? How are they getting justice? So she's placing herself in the children's perspective.
But is she assuming that she's not going to face justice? This is what I'm concerned. This is what I'm confused about. Like, I think that she will face justice just under Navarre law.
Right. But I don't think
if she was like going to just be set free with no repercussions, then yes, I understand. But I don't think that's going to be the situation.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, and hopefully maybe we'll get some information about it in the future as to what happens. I don't know, but I think it just still ties back to where it is. How does the children of this slain commander and the family, his partner, how do they find justice in this situation? Because again, so it's not even for Michael knowing that she'll face justice. I think it's about that she's taking on the area of being an advocate for the family, and how do they get justice in this situation, which they won't, because they're not going to know.
Why
they're
not
going to be able to see.
Why can't they be like, keep us surprised as to what the judgment is on Navarre? You know, it's not like they're not talking, you know.
But it's not something
she obviously has, you know, and President Tarina, you know, she has connections, like Michael has connections. So if she really wanted to make it happen, she went, President Tarina, can you do me a favor and just let me know so I can let the family know? And I'm sure President Tarina would be like, sure, you know, like, I just don't get it. Like, I actually disagree with you. If she was going to be set free with no, like, and this is also assuming that
I think one of the things I think that Michael wants justice in the form of this person killed this person. So therefore, I think this is more about this Giovanni being killed or being like put into Starfleet prison for 50 years for killing this Starfleet officer, so that the family knows that there's been justice done in that way. I think that the vagueness, but the vagueness of the situation. I think it does make sense.
So you're assuming that Michael, so I strongly disagree with you about this, because you're basically assuming that Michael thinks that Federation law is more just and right than Navarre law.
I think that's what Michael thinks. Yeah, I think Michael thinks
why
that.
Why would we think that? Like, why
I don't think we think that. I think that Michael thinks that.
The thing is, why won't Michael think that? She grew up on Vulcan, like, you know, like she respects Vulcan.
I don't think it's a logical. So this is where we're tackling it from different places. You're not wrong. I'm not saying that I disagree with you. I'm simply trying to show you that the other perspective is this very emotional, wanting revenge, wanting some justice, because you're angry that you're, so these kids are growing up without their one of their fathers, and there's an anger in her. I think still, again, it's tied back to this whole idea that, you know, Michael's story and how she's experienced life.
I understand what you mean, but what the fault in logic for me is,
it's not logic though, it's emotional.
No, but it's also
clearly...
so do you think that she really thinks that like Navarre law is not adequate?
She's unsatisfied with the solution. She
doesn't even know like what the solution is going to be. Like she hasn't even been trying.
Solution, but it's out of their hands.
But even if she was tried under Federation court, like it's still up to a jury or peers. It's not like she wouldn't be able to control the outcome. System.
I'm not saying that it's logical. You're arguing it from a logical standpoint, and I understand.
But even from
that.
Emotional perspective,
no,
like,
you're missing the anger and the anger that is still in Michael for the loss of her father, and the justice that those Vulcans who attacked the school or the science place that they were stationed at, there's still that fire that burns in her that's angry about the lack of justice for that she had. And I think that that's what's carrying forward here, is that someone close, she's really advocating from the perspective of the kids, and the kids, this commander's children have no, you know, she thinks wrongly or rightly that these kids are going to be angry and have to obviously they have to live without their father, one of their fathers. And so I think that that's the other piece of this. This is an anger, revenge, you know, a trauma situation where Michael's reliving the trauma.
I do think that Michael has a very strong sense of justice. I do agree with that. Whether or not that her sense of justice is correct is a different argument. But I don't think she's burning with revenge. I think
I'm not saying it's correct or not.
She wants justice.
She wants justice.
Revenge.
She wants justice.
You were saying revenge, which I don't actually agree with.
I mean,
you know, I think it is justice. Like she has a very, very strong sense of right and wrong. And it is carried by emotion. I agree with you. However, I just don't really see why the disconnect from me.
It's not logical.
This goes back.
It's not logical.
But even based upon emotion, I don't quite understand why she sees Federation law superior. You know, she has this like. You know, she thinks that
seems very Michael, though. Michael thinks that things are like that. Starfleet and Federation law and justice is superior. That's clearly, you know, evident. And you know, she always.
But why?
Remember that Michael has the highest ideals. So, and
but
remember
she's also
seen
the Federation fall flat on its face as well.
Sure. Yeah. She still has the highest ideals.
So I don't.
I mean, I'm not saying it's logical. I'm not saying I'm understanding. I'm just presenting the opposite. I understand your logic. With, you know, I think that there's somewhat of a vagueness about what kind of justice she will face, because they're going back to Navarre, yes, but I believe, and we've only watched this once, so I can't really be 100% sure, but I believe that she's going to face justice from the Quat Malat, not from Navarre. She's going to face Quat Malat justice. And I think that's even, I think
see if Memory Alpha says anything.
I think that there's just a vagueness around what the justice
but I
for
think
Giovini
I
will
feel
be.
the Quat Malat's they're gonna be even more harsh, to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, I think that there's vagueness around this. That's the part of this that is frustrating for Burnham. I think there's vagueness. And I think that they're going to face Quat Malat justice, not Navarre justice, which she may have faith in.
So it says, well, with his Memory Alpha, Vance informs Serena that Starfleet was remanding Giovini into her custody for extradition to Navarre. Yeah. I mean, it makes it sound like she's going to be dealt with by Navarre. I don't know. Whatever.
But I still think it's going to be Quat Malat justice and not Navarrian justice.
Sure, which I think is even more extreme than
maybe.
If she wants
we don't know. we don't know what the justice system of the Guatemala are. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not. I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to present the emotional side that I think Michael Burnham is operating from, and I also think that the vagueness of the kind of justice that she's going to face back on Navarre is vague enough that whereas what murdering a Federation citizen will lead to.
So I'll be more honest. I do not feel Michael's being written well this season. So I understand what you're trying to say, but I feel that they're just doing this to create more conflict between Michael and President Relic. I feel they're just doing that. And if we were to try to extrapolate Michael's reaction in this situation, I agree with you. But I'm making the argument that her emotional response, purely emotional or logical, whatever, makes a little sense because I don't think she's being written well. I think that they're trying to create conflict.
Okay.
This is also my issue with her in episode 1 of the season, where again we have that scene where she is just trying to create. She's just trying to make conflict with this precedent, And I feel that they're just because. The issue is, and I think you mentioned this earlier, it's because the threat right now is this natural disaster, right? It has no face. There's no like person or evil behind it, at least from what we know. So they need to create these like emotional situations between the characters to make it relational, to make it like something that for the audience can emotionally invest in. So I think there's creating conflict for the sake of creating conflict versus like, it's very consistent with the character and the character's being written well, to be honest.
I understand what you're saying. The only thing I would say to counter that is that Sonequa is a producer this season. So she's very closely tied to the direction that Michael's character is written.
I feel that means very little. Like Patrick Stewart was a producer on Picard, and I thought Picard season was terrible.
Okay. Well, I mean but they're at least involved in the discussions and the direction of their character. So that's all I'm saying. But I
mean, she might like the thing is, Sonequa might like the conflict. She might actually, because it gives her more to work with, like as an actress.
Sure.
I just don't think it's. I personally think that the character, as much as I don't like Michael Burnham, is not being written well.
Okay.
So that's my opinion.
There we go. Yeah. All right. Wow, that turned into quite the discussion about the ending of this episode.
Well, we're not even done because we still have.
Not even. We still have the Gray and Adira storyline. So, and we get to see Guardian Z come in and help with this process of, and remind me, when have we seen this transfer happen before? Have we seen Guardians come and they do that out of body thing, right? Where
it was facets, right?
Facets from Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
So this is what a Guardian does, but they can also help take
but in this case
they're
transferring the consciousness more permanently. But that wasn't a thing in facets, like because Curzon wanted to stay in Odo, so technically that the Guardian could have just let, if that really was what they all decided.
The Guardian couldn't force him to go back.
Right.
Yes.
Into I guess Dax's body. Just stay that way.
Yep, that's true. Yeah. So so we have the Guardian doing.
I wish you got the whole ceremony with the fire and the whatever. It was like.
Well, and so Guardian Z is doing this from a distance, so he's not even really there.
Which I was like, okay, because I feel that like in facets, there was some sort of like telepathic element happening, like in the facilitation.
Well, there was wasn't there some object that they both
there was some
hands on?
Non-corporeal like thing floating out. So I was kind of like, But
the Guardian was present there. So this is an interesting, so I guess the technology is doing it this time and Guardian Z is just overseeing it. But we have some really touching scenes, I think, between Gray and Adira and how they are dealing with this. I think that Adira is both excited and nervous about
Makes
She's
sense.
essentially they are essentially losing one of their previous hosts.
Right. And yes, and Gray is not going to be there like constantly as much.
Right. Yeah. So I
Gray can
think that
go and
there's,
have his own life.
I think yeah, exactly. And Adira is going to struggle with that. So, yeah. So I think that there's that part of it that they're dealing with, and then there's also the excitement that Gray is feeling about his new body, and so there's this period where nobody knows what happened to Gray's consciousness, right? So there's this time where they're kind of contemplating that we just have to let it work itself out, and Guardian Z has done everything possible, the technology has done everything possible, and it comes down to Adira holding Gray's hand and that sense of touch that finally brings Gray out of it. But
I suppose. I mean, I think that it was a little too kind of like sappy for me. I'll be honest. I was kind of just eye rolling the whole time. Yeah, I wasn't emotion type by it at all. It just felt it was too dramatic. It was too soap opera-y for me personally. It's fine. I'm glad we finally got some sort of resolution, because it's been dragging, the whole Gray needing a body and needing out of Adira. So I'm glad we're finally there. I'm glad it didn't take all season, because that would have been annoying. I'm glad to move on and see what happens next. It was just too soap opera for me. It was too dramatic.
Okay. That's
for me.
For you. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's exciting for those characters. I think it's going to be a new adventure for them both.
Sure.
And I think it's also a great way to bring Gray into the cast of this show, and
finally.
Again, it's
move on.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's about representation, and so we'll have some another character to like actually people to interact with,
sure,
and experience this. So I'm looking forward to Stamets meeting Gray, because Stamets is the only person in their family who does not know who Gray is other than through Adira. So and I feel a little badly that he's not there for some of this process. I know this is more Culber's area, but I feel like I wish, and this I'm wondering, will this create some conflict? Will Stamets working so much and not being aware of and in touch with this part of their life, will this be played out as well?
Possibly. I mean, I feel Stamets this season might be on his own kind of like side quest, like with this whole anomaly situation and his emotional investment in it, and with Book. So I think what you're saying makes sense, though. I mean, we'll see, but he might also kind of be doing his own thing.
Right. But and also just one other thing that I liked about this storyline is that it brings Saru and Culber into this nice conversation about you're doing a lot, you're doing the best you can, you're doing a great job essentially, and it's just a nice kind of conversation between. Again, we're seeing these intimate scenes that I think if you pull back and look at the production of this, we're seeing how COVID impacted these characters, and we're getting more of these intimate conversations because this is what COVID has kind of done to the production of this season. So but anyway, I enjoyed Saru and Culber chatting for a little bit on this. So we don't know what's next for Gray. We don't know how this. I mean, obviously now we have a new character who's sort of like fresh and reborn, and it'll be interesting to see his journey, and then also to see Adira's journey as they kind of experience this loss, I would assume, but also this gain. And and see how that plays out and how that might affect their work with Tilly and where that might bring Tilly into this this part of the story as well. So I am I'm in for it. I want to see. I'm excited to see. I know it's going to be more of a side story, and that's totally fine. I think obviously we know the big thrust of the season between the Anomaly and Burnham's journey as a new captain. I think that those are the two main pushes for this season. But I think these side stories that we're seeing are a great part of what Discovery does best. So. And I just wish that it involved more of the bridge crew in some way, but we'll see.
If that ship has sailed. I feel maybe. We're like season 4 already. It's like, all right,
maybe. Like, I mean, but it would be, we'll see. I'm hopeful that we will get to see some more of that.
The last time we got a major episode about a bridge crew member, they died. So
right, it was season 2 Ariam's.
Yeah,
Ariam. Yes.
So if we have an episode focusing on any of them, I'm like, they're gonna die at the end of this episode. It's over.
Yeah, exactly. If we see, hopefully they won't repeat that same kind of thing, but they certainly could. And I think we do have to kind of keep in the back of our mind. I think this whole conversation that Rillick and Michael had in episode 1, about how she's going to deal with the loss of someone under her command.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's got to be someone close enough that it makes an impact.
Right.
So, all right. Well, there's a very deep dive look at Choose to Live, episode 3. And I don't even know what the next episode's name is yet, but that
no
comes
idea.
Out tomorrow.
No clue.
So
all is possible according to Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. All is possible.
All is possible.
Well, there we go. And I would also encourage you. I know you haven't necessarily watched it. I think that the Ready Room this year has been really good. Also under extras in Paramount, just seeing them talk to seeing some of the behind the scenes. I've not watched the Ready Room for this episode yet, but I've watched the first 2. And I thought they've been really good. So I encourage you and our listeners to check that out.
Yes. I am not gonna go running to watch it. I don't feel I have time, but I would encourage our listeners to do so.
But you don't have time because you need to finish Cowboy Bebop. And there we go.
Oh my God. It's getting there.
Please just finish this.
I'm like, anyway, I'm crawling to the finish line.
I've watched it twice. Anyway, let's do something we haven't done in a really long time and take a walk down to Counselor Troy's office and do some dishing with Deanna.
Yes, let's do it.
Come in. Hi.
You got a minute?
Sure.
So, Mike, why don't you go first? How is life going? Tell us everything.
We talked about at the top of the show a little bit. It's been a week and it's been a month. There's a lot going on at work. There's obviously a lot going on at home with a new puppy, as well as adoption stuff happening. Nothing about adopting a kid yet, but just we're in a paperwork phase of a renewal of our adoption process, and so that's happening. So there's that, plus having a puppy at home, which is
sounds like a nightmare.
It is not a nightmare.
I mean,
it's not a nightmare. It is a work. It is definitely work. I mean,
my fish. I mean, I don't think you shared at the beginning. I mean, Hamish had some issues, like GI issues last night, some diarrhea.
So, yes.
And honestly, if my fish had diarrhea, I would never know. Like, they just poop into the tank.
No. Well, of course, yes. No, so yes, I was up in the middle of the night with my puppy who was having diarrhea and
odd,
not feeling well. So Yes, so there was that. Work is just really busy as we approach Christmas, and then obviously we get some time off afterwards, which is good. And then yeah, and I talked a little bit about today. Today we got a whole new benefit system at work as well, and all these new benefits to not just to go through like a complete change. So like I said to you before we started recording, I've had a version of United Healthcare for over 20 years.
Right.
And so I guess it's Blue Cross Blue Shield, but I have no idea, but it's called Empire, whatever this new health insurance I have is. So I have no idea about it. And also we have 5 days to sign up. So it's just a lot. Yeah, so that's one thing. Yeah, so we just got it yesterday. There was one session yesterday. I did this morning session. We have to sign up. The deadline is next Monday, and then we go into so our benefits are for 5 months, and our so they run, which is just weird. I don't understand this at all. Why benefits would run June 1st to May 31st. I have no idea who the hell picked that kind of schedule. That's 5 months in. You know, it doesn't July. Sure, if you said July 1st to June 30th, I mean, half the world and half the companies in the S&P 500 run July 1st to June 30th.
Yeah, so, I was gonna say, does it have something to do with their fiscal, like how they?
I don't know. I mean, I've never heard of an off-cycle fiscal like that, but it's just, and it's definitely not our fiscal. I mean, our fiscal year runs July 1st to June 30th as a company, but I've never had benefits that run June 1st to May 31st. It's just So there's so many things about this is, including, I have no idea if this new insurance is if my doctor is even gonna accept it. So it's just, and it's slightly more expensive than what I was paying last year. So it's just a lot. So there's that on top of just normal work stuff, and on top of adoption and puppy stuff, and other personal projects and things that in life that are just happening. So it's a lot. I mean, Christmas is coming. I have no idea what to get Dennis. So
money.
There's that. Money.
That's what my mom gives me every year, because she has no idea what to give me.
Yes. No. So there's that. There's
thanks,
that.
Mom.
So yeah. So that's
a fish
all.
Tank. Maybe he'll like a fish tank.
No, I don't think that
he would not. He would not appreciate it. It would just go in the trash.
No. Yes. It would. So yeah. So that's sort of what's going on here. What about you? What's going on with you? Are you still doing so we have, what do we have? We have work is drowning. And then you have
work is crazy.
Matchmaker.
I think it'll get better after this week, but this week has been really crazy. Yeah. And today I had 2 people on my team out, and I just had to cover them, and it was a lot. So, but it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. We'll be fine.
And then you have, what's going on with any updates on the matchmaking front?
Not really. So the matchmaker emailed me last week, and I haven't even responded. So I haven't gotten a proposed match in weeks, and he basically just said that they're working on me every week. He and his assistant matchmaker, they're working on me every week, and they appreciate my patience, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even respond to that email, not because I was mad or anything, but I was just like, what am I going to say, But I don't know. I think this is probably going to be my last month with this service, because it just hasn't really produced much in the way of results, So
is this 4 months now?
This is the third month.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like kind of discouraging, and obviously a waste of money. But it's fine, you know. Obviously I went into it knowing that it would be an investment, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, I think I might just stop and then just take a break from the matchmaking services, and then maybe revisit something else in spring or something.
Okay.
So,
I mean, that makes sense given what's given the kind of lack of response, or how, I don't even know how to qualify it, but
well, it's just lack of results. You know, there haven't been much in that regard. So it's kind of just throwing money into the void, you know.
right. Yeah. This feels like a 1 or 2 star review coming out soon to Yelp near you.
I mean, and the thing is, like, I wouldn't, you know, like I actually don't necessarily blame the matchmaker. I thought that he did a good job in the intake, and he has. It's really hard to pin down why, right? If they're not really able to find me matches, is it really their fault? You know, because there are so many variables out of their control, including my prerequisites, but then also other people being interested. So it's not it. I wouldn't necessarily put all the blame on them. It's hard for me to ascertain why the results haven't really been coming. So I wouldn't necessarily, you know, I probably would just not give them a rating, like, versus being like, oh, they suck. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Anything else? Well, so this is your last month in your 30s.
It is. Yes.
So,
turning 40 very
turning
soon
40.
in like 3 weeks or so. A little over 3 weeks.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's fine.
Thoughts as you're coming to the end of this decade?
I've said this before. My only thought is I don't know if I want to do another 40 years of this, of like living. It's just like so much work. It's so much effort, that it's kind of exhausting to think about that there might be another 40 years of this. So it's fine, you know, just chugging along, you know, living, etc. Yes.
Fair enough.
All great things.
Any other social things going on in your life? I mean, you're obviously very busy socially because you can't finish Cowboy Bebop to save your life. I've been spending
a lot of time like on my fish tanks. Like that's been a big preoccupation, just kind of dealing with that and kind of micromanaging them. And I like it, you know, it's fun, but I spend probably way too much time on them. So, I mean, between work having been work's been just really crazy the last 3 weeks. It's just been like deadline after deadline. I think at the end of this week, after this week, it'll be better, but it's been a lot. Between that and then in my free time, I've been doing fish tank stuff, still trying to work out, still trying to be social, doing this podcast. I don't know. There's just a lot, you know, it's just, I don't think that I'm even that productive of my time. Like, because I just know people that are really good. Like, I know I have friends that there's one guy I know from my last church. He's a VP at like JP Morgan. He has a wife, he has 4 kids. And he's also on he's a board member on 2 nonprofits or something. He also volunteers. He hosts events at his place. He's just like, and he's like, I just don't know. He's like my age. And I think he's a year younger. And I'm just like, I don't know where you get all this energy and time and bandwidth. Like, I just have no idea how he's always on the go and doing things and helping society and doing work. He also does things at work. Other than his job, he also leads like groups, like different groups, like it's like ERG groups, right? Or whatever we call it.
Yep.
Resource groups, right?
Yeah.
He also leads that at work. I'm like, oh my God, like I do not know how he does this. And he's always like, And when you talk to him, he's always like energetic and positive. And like, I feel like I can barely take care of myself, let alone like 4 kids and volunteer and host constantly and do all this extra stuff at work on top of my job. Like, I'm just like, I don't know how, some people do that. It's amazing. I mean, it's inspiring. And yet I'm kind of like, I won't, so.
Yeah, that is a lot. I feel like that with just a puppy sometimes.
Just even hearing about it is exhausting. It's exhausting. Like, not even doing it, just hearing him talk about how much he does. I'm tired just hearing you. Just thinking about that, let alone doing it. So,
yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing, all of the stuff that he's doing. So, wow.
No,
that is a lot.
It's a lot.
Wow.
So anyway, it makes me feel like, what am I doing? Like, I try to stay productive, active, and I try to utilize my margin, as it were. But I feel like maybe because I'm an introvert, I still need this like downtime and just doing like shit, like fish tank stuff, just like hobbies and like whatever, to recharge. And I just can't imagine constantly utilizing my time to the last drop like that. It's just not possible.
Yeah, no, that's true.
He is an extrovert, so that's a piece of it. That's a part of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that there's a definite. Yeah, obviously he gets his energy from these activities. So, right. Well, and I do know. Well, so we both have trips coming up in February.
That's really far away. Yeah, but
you're heading to. But I mean, have the spreadsheets started or no?
No, not yet. February's still kind of far.
That's true. It is far.
Yeah,
I mean, you haven't even looked at flights yet, huh? No,
not yet.
Wow.
I mean, has Dennis?
I have no idea, actually.
To break it down for our listeners, so I am going with Dennis and one of our other friends to LA for a few days over. Was it President weekend?
Yeah.
And you are, Mike. What are you doing?
I am
chaperoning.
I'm chaperoning a youth service trip to New Orleans. So, and I was on the phone with with Brittany, who's leading this group, and today going through some of the scheduling and everything. She needed someone to just like out loud talk out things, and so I was doing mostly listening. But it's a lot. So I'm exhausted. I was exhausted thinking about this. 3 adults, obviously Brittany, myself, and Chris, the other chaperone, and 15 youth from 7th to 12th grade. So it's taking a plane from JFK, no less, to and from JFK.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So there's that happening in February during that same week. So yeah, a lot going on. But yeah, that seems very far away too, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited to I mean, I love kids, so I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be challenging.
My worst nightmare, chaperoning a kids trip. No, thank you.
Well, and also I had to figure out like how, chaperoning and doing the work and everything, and then figuring out, well, there's some things that I still need to do for my job while I'm doing this. So,
really?
So there are a few things. I mean, I think a lot will be taken off my plate for that week. But
yeah, I mean, come on, like what the fuck?
But so but then getting caught up. I mean, it doesn't stop. These things. This happens, and it doesn't stop the emails from coming in, as you know.
Yes.
Constant flurry. It does not stop. and the expectation that people have of you and what you're doing doesn't necessarily stop. They need to adjust maybe, but
Yes,
you know,
set their expectations.
well, we'll see. So yeah, so but you know, that's in February, so I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, while you are in
Well, are you gonna have time with people that you want to hang out with in New Orleans?
No.
No.
In fact, I don't know if I know anyone in New Orleans.
I don't know anyone that lives there.
I don't think I do. And so yeah, I mean it's go. I mean, you wake up, you wake the kids up, you
Oh my God.
get them ready. I mean, there's
So
cooking involved.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yes. It'll be
Oh my God.
It's yeah.
How many days is it?
It's 6 days.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
No, I take that back. It's 7 days. 7 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah, from Saturday afternoon to the following Friday afternoon. Yeah. Wow. So yeah. But it brings up memories of being a summer camp counselor my senior year of high school. So at a summer camp. So it has that feel already to it. So but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But that's a ways away. But
Godspeed. Have fun. See you when you get back.
See, yeah, you all are well, I know you're probably staying a little extra, or you're going early.
I'm going a little bit earlier. Yeah, I'm going a little bit earlier since there are a few folks in LA that I want to hang out with for a little bit before Dennis and Tony come. But
right.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll and Nancy, who's been on this podcast back in episode 25. And
oh man, that was a long time ago. Yes.
That was a long time ago. Sadly I won't get to see her. She sent Dennis and I a text upon learning about the trip, and I was sadly
I thought you were going, so I told her.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no,
I didn't realize you were going to be occupied elsewhere. So
I didn't, the timing. That President's Day week also happens to fall on school vacation week for New York, I think. So, although that impacts the kids who are going, who are not in part of the New York City school system. So, yeah, so there's that. But anyway, yeah, so there's that's a lot going on with Deanna. Deanna probably needs to spend more time with us to help us deal with all of these things that are going on in our lives. And we need a real life Deanna,
like a therapist, like a therapist.
That would probably be helpful. Yes. So yeah, possibly. So anyway,
well, does your new insurance cover?
I have no. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I have no idea whether my new insurance will cover this. So it's great. Although I did tell you,
I did back. Just to tie it back.
So before I knew about the new insurance, though, I was screaming about the fact that my old insurance was no longer covering CVS, which blows my mind. But now it's no longer. Now it's no longer even a point, unless this new insurance, which I've never had before, doesn't accept CVS. So
that's insane. They're like a major pharmacy chain. How can they just not accept it? That's wild.
Yeah, it is. So
that's insane. I don't understand.
So I guess that point becomes moot, and so we'll see. I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. So anyway.
All right.
So there we go. Well, thank you, Deanna, for listening to us bitch about our lives for a while, and I think we should wrap it up and take it home. But first, we should give a shout out to our sponsor, Fansets. They make amazing pin collectibles, and this month, actually on December 1st, they came out with the Lower Decks versions of Troy and Riker.
Mm-hmm.
Excited about that. You can still get They've also posted recently some restocks of the Voyager slash DS9 Delta magnetic version. They got a shipment of that in, and also I want to say the alternate timeline, All Good Things badge, I think it was, as well. So they got some more of those in, but that is only 4 of the over 400 pins for Star Trek alone that they have, which is amazing.
That's insane. That's a lot of pins.
That is a lot of pins. And I don't know what's coming out next week, but I'm sure we'll get an update from our executive producers. But Fansets has been tremendously generous in sponsoring this podcast and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. And if you go to fansets.com, put a bunch of pins in your cart. If you're in the US and it's over $30, you're going to get free shipping. And if you use the code DSPRIDE, all in caps, all one word, you will get 10% off your order. And we want to thank Fansets for supporting our podcast, Deep Space Pride, and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Thanks, Fansets. All right, so I guess that does it for this episode.
It does. Why don't you tell people
it's pretty long. We had a lot. We kind of started going on, and of course, we had a healthy and lively debate, which happens once in a while.
Absolutely. It does.
But we would love to hear what everyone has to think, particularly when it comes to this episode and some other things that we talked about. We'd love you all to give us your thoughts and opinions. And you can do so by DMing us on Instagram and Twitter at DSpacePride, or you can email us. Email us at what's our email? DSpacePride@gmail.com. There we go.
Well, there we go. We would love to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out and let us know what you think about all of what we talked about today. And that'll do it for this episode of Deep Space Pride.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for listening and enjoying, hopefully, our healthy debate, which I had no idea would happen from a very simple question.
Did you agree with? It was a complicated question. There's a lot of layers to it. So, and also trying to understand the motives and intentions of fictional characters. So
there we go.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. There we go. Yes. Well, we look forward to talking to you next week. And thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next week. Thanks.
Hi, everyone.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.